My name is Mary and I work for an accounting firm. The board meeting started normally. I sat in my usual seat, coffee cooling in front of me, reviewing the quarterly financial summary on my tablet. Jennifer walked in late, which wasn't unusual. She always made an entrance. What was unusual was the folder she carried and the way her hands shook as she placed it on the table. "Before we begin," she said, her voice trembling, "I need to report something serious." Everyone looked up. Our CEO, Mr. Harrison, leaned forward. "What is it, Jennifer?" She opened the folder with theatrical slowness. "I've discovered evidence of embezzlement. Money has been disappearing from our accounts for months." The room went silent. My stomach dropped, though I didn't know why yet. "I've traced the transactions," she continued, sliding papers across the table. "They all lead back to one person." Her finger pointed directly at me. I couldn't breathe. Every face in that room turned toward me with identical expressions of shock and suspicion. "That's impossible," I managed to say. "I haven't touched anything inappropriate." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. Real tears. I'd always thought she was dramatic, but this was convincing. "I didn't want to believe it either," she said softly. "We've worked together for 5 years. But the evidence is clear." Mr. Harrison took the papers. Bank transfers, withdrawal records, dates and amounts highlighted in yellow. My employee ID appeared on every single one. "These show transactions authorized under your credentials," he said slowly. "Can you explain them?" I grabbed the papers with shaking hands. The dates were familiar. I'd processed payroll those weeks, handled vendor payments, normal accounting work. But these specific transactions, I'd never seen them before. "I didn't authorize these," I said firmly. "Someone used my credentials without permission." Jennifer dabbed her eyes. "I know this is hard to accept, but denying it won't help." "I'm not denying anything because I didn't do it," I shot back. The CFO, Mrs. Chen, spoke up. "How much are we talking about?" Jennifer consulted her notes. "Approximately $847,000 over 6 months. The number hit like a punch. That wasn't petty theft. That was serious prison time. "This is insane," I said, standing up. "Check the security logs, the IP addresses, anything. You'll see I didn't do this." Mr. Harrison held up his hand. "We will investigate thoroughly. But until then, you're suspended without pay effective immediately." My legs almost gave out. "You're believing her without even checking." "We're not believing anyone," Mrs. Chen said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "We're following protocol during a serious allegation." Jennifer collected her papers, avoiding my eyes now. "I'll cooperate fully with any investigation," she said quietly. "I just want the truth." Security escorted me out within the hour. I packed my desk while coworkers whispered and stared. 5 years of work, of early mornings and late nights, reduced to a cardboard box and suspicious looks. At home, I couldn't stop shaking. My husband, Marcus, listened to everything twice before speaking. "This doesn't make sense," he said. "You're the most careful person I know." "Jennifer set me up," I said. "I don't know how, but she did." Marcus pulled out his laptop. "Then we prove it." We started with my bank accounts. Nothing unusual. No sudden deposits, no unexplained wealth. That should have been obvious to anyone actually investigating. Then I remembered something. 2 months ago, Jennifer had asked to borrow my laptop. "Mine's updating," she'd said. "I just need to send one email." I'd logged in for her, then left for a meeting. She'd had access to my credentials for at least 20 minutes. I told Marcus. "That's when she could have copied your passwords," he said. "But proving it is different." I pulled up the documents Jennifer had presented. The transactions were dated across 6 months, but something felt off. I grabbed a calendar and marked each date. They all fell on days when I'd worked from home or been out of the office. Days when I couldn't physically prove I wasn't at my desk authorizing transfers. She planned this, Marcus said quietly. She chose days you weren't visible. That's when I noticed the amounts. $12,847. $31,263. $19,584. Random numbers, except they weren't. I'd worked in accounting long enough to recognize patterns. These amounts were carefully calculated to stay under automatic review thresholds. Anything over $50,000 required dual authorization. Anything under went through with just departmental approval. Jennifer knew the system perfectly. She'd designed some of it. We need professional help, Marcus said. Someone who investigates financial fraud. He found a forensic accountant named David Reeves. Retired FBI, now consulting privately. The consultation fee was $500, money we didn't really have with me suspended. But we were desperate. David listened to everything without interrupting. Then he asked, "Do you have access to your work email still?" "They disabled it," I said. "What about personal backups? Anything you saved externally?" I thought about it. I kept copies of major reports on a personal drive. Company policy allowed it for working remotely. David's eyes sharpened. "Get me everything you have." I spent that night pulling files. 3 years of reports, transaction summaries, audit trails. Things I'd saved without thinking about it. David reviewed them over the next week. When he called back, his voice was different. Harder. "Your company has a problem," he said. "And it's not you." He explained what he'd found. The suspicious transactions didn't match normal patterns. They were too perfect, too carefully structured. "Real embezzlement is messy," David said. "People make mistakes, get greedy, break their own patterns. This is too clean." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means someone with deep system knowledge did this. Someone who knew exactly how to make it look like you." He paused. "There's something else. I cross-referenced the dates with your company's vendor database. Every fraudulent transaction corresponds with a vendor payment you legitimately processed the same day. I didn't understand at first. Someone piggybacked fake transactions onto my real work," David explained. "When you processed legitimate vendor payments, they created mirror transactions using your credentials. Same day, similar amounts, but routed to different accounts." "Can you prove that?" Marcus asked. "I can show the pattern," David said. "But I'd need access to your company's full financial system to trace where the money actually went." That was impossible. I was suspended, under investigation, completely locked out. "There might be another way," David said slowly. "Does your company do external audits?" "Every year," I replied. "But not until November." It was only July. "Then we wait," David said. "And we prepare." Wait. While Jennifer controlled the narrative. While everyone believed I was a thief. While my reputation died slowly. Marcus saw my face. "We don't have a choice," he said gently. The next month was the hardest of my life. Bills piled up without my income. Former co-workers stopped responding to my messages. My daughter asked why I wasn't going to work anymore. I told her it was a misunderstanding. She was 8. She believed me. I wished I could believe myself. Then something strange happened. My friend Sarah, who still worked at the company, called me secretly. "Jennifer's acting weird," she whispered. "She keeps asking about the annual audit." When it's scheduled, who's conducting it, what they'll review. Why does she care? I asked. She's never cared before. Sarah paused. That's what's weird. She seems nervous. Yesterday she asked Mr. Harrison if we could postpone it. Said the department needed more time to prepare after all the disruption. My pulse quickened. What did he say? He said no. The auditors are already scheduled. I called David immediately. She's worried about the audit, I said. Why would she be worried if she's telling the truth? David was quiet for a moment. Because auditors look at everything. If she created fake transactions, there will be traces she can't control. What kind of traces? Bank accounts receiving the money. IP addresses for transaction authorizations. Access logs showing who was actually in the system. He paused. If she's smart, she's been covering her tracks. But audit preparation creates pressure. People make mistakes when they're nervous. Can we use that? I asked. Maybe, David said. Do you know who's conducting the audit? I called Sarah back. She gave me the firm's name, Patterson and Associates. David recognized it immediately. They're thorough. Conservative. They won't ignore red flags. Can we contact them? Marcus asked. David shook his head. Not directly. That looks like interference. But we can make sure they look in the right places. He explained his plan. We'd prepare an anonymous packet of information. Nothing accusatory, just questions. Dates that didn't align. Transaction patterns that seemed unusual. Accounts that appeared suddenly and disappeared just as fast. Auditors love questions, David said. It's their job to find answers. We spent 2 weeks building the packet. David structured it like a puzzle, not an accusation. By mid-October, it was ready. David had a contact at Patterson and Associates. Not the lead auditor, but someone in their fraud detection unit. I'll send it through encrypted channels, he said. Completely untraceable. 3 days later, Sarah called again. The auditors arrived early, she said. And they're asking weird questions. Really specific stuff about vendor accounts and authorization protocols. How's Jennifer reacting? I asked. She's pale. She keeps leaving meetings to make phone calls. Something was happening. I could feel it. The waiting was almost over. The audit lasted 3 weeks. Longer than usual, Sarah reported. They're in the server rooms constantly. Jennifer tried to sit in on their meetings, but they refused. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. This is Robert Patterson, the voice said. I'm the lead auditor for your company. I need to speak with you. My heart raced. About what? Discrepancies we've found in the financial records. Ones that relate directly to the allegations against you. We met the next day at a neutral location. Robert brought 2 colleagues and a laptop full of data. We've traced the fraudulent transactions, Robert said without preamble. They didn't originate from your workstation. I felt tears forming. Where did they come from? Multiple locations. Home IP addresses, coffee shop networks, even a few from mobile devices. But they all used credentials linked to one employee access pattern. He turned the laptop toward me. Jennifer's login history filled the screen. These entries show someone accessing the system during times Jennifer Martin was supposedly off duty. But the IP addresses match her home network and known locations. She used my credentials, I said. Yes. And we found how. Robert pulled up another screen. Security footage from the office, dated 2 months before the accusations. Jennifer at my desk, my laptop open, installing something from a USB drive. Keylogger software, Robert explained. It captured your passwords and sent them to an external email account registered to a fake name. But the recovery phone number traces back to Jennifer Martin. I couldn't speak. The evidence was right there, time-stamped and documented. There's more, Robert continued. The money didn't disappear. It went to shell accounts set up under false vendor names. We traced the beneficial owner through banking records. He showed me corporate filings. 3 fake companies, all registered to variations of Jennifer's name. Different spellings, middle names used as first names, but unmistakably her. She's been stealing for 3 years, Robert said. The amount is actually $2.3 million, not the $847,000 she claimed you took. The room spun. Why did she accuse me? Because we were coming, Robert said simply. Annual audits are scheduled months in advance. She knew we'd find the discrepancies eventually. By accusing you first, she positioned herself as the whistleblower. If questions arose, she'd already established that you were the guilty party. What happens now? Marcus asked. We're presenting our findings to the board tomorrow, Robert said. The evidence is conclusive. Criminal charges will follow. That night, I barely slept. Years of careful theft, of manipulating systems and people, about to collapse in one meeting. The board convened at 9 the next morning. Sarah texted me updates secretly. Jennifer just arrived. She looks confident. Then, 20 minutes later, Mr. Harrison's face just went white. Mrs. Chen is reading something and shaking her head. An hour passed. They're calling Jennifer back in. She was waiting outside. Another 30 minutes. Oh my God. Police just arrived. My phone rang. Mr. Harrison. We owe you an enormous apology, he said. His voice sounded hollow. The audit uncovered evidence that Jennifer Martin fabricated the accusations against you while embezzling millions from the company. I let the words wash over me. Vindication felt quieter than I'd expected. We're reinstating you immediately with full back pay and benefits, Mr. Harrison continued. Additionally, we're offering you Jennifer's former position as Senior Finance Director, along with a formal public apology. What about Jennifer? I asked. She's being arrested as we speak. The evidence is overwhelming. I drove to the office an hour later. Police cars filled the parking lot. Employees clustered near windows, watching as officers led Jennifer out in handcuffs. She saw me as they passed. Our eyes met. She didn't look angry or defiant. She looked empty, like someone who'd finally run out of moves. I didn't feel satisfaction. Just tired. Inside, Mr. Harrison gathered the entire company. I need to address what happened, he said. We failed one of our own. He explained everything. The audit findings, the evidence, the truth. We believed an accusation without proper investigation, he said. We suspended a valuable employee based on manipulated evidence. That's unacceptable. He turned to me. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. The applause started slowly, then built. Co-workers who'd avoided me for months now crowded around, apologizing, congratulating. It felt surreal. Sarah hugged me tightly. I never believed it, she whispered. I know, I said. Thank you. The next week was a blur. Police interviews, statements to federal investigators, meetings with lawyers. Jennifer had been thorough, but not perfect. David's analysis had found the cracks, and the auditors had broken everything open. The trial was scheduled for 6 months later. I was called as a witness. Walked through how she'd borrowed my laptop, gained access to my credentials, created the framework for her scheme. Jennifer's lawyer tried to suggest I was involved, that we'd work together and I was now turning on her. David's forensic analysis destroyed that theory in minutes. The evidence was too clear. The jury convicted her on all counts: wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft. The judge sentenced her to 7 years in federal prison. As they led her away, she looked at me one last time. "I was desperate," she said. "I had debts, problems you didn't know about." I nodded slowly. "Then you should have asked for help. Not tried to destroy me." She had no response to that. My new position came with challenges. Rebuilding a department Jennifer had corrupted, implementing new security protocols, restoring trust. But I had help. Mr. Harrison gave me full authority to make changes. Mrs. Chen became a mentor, teaching me the strategic side of finance I'd never learned. 6 months into the role, we implemented new systems. Dual authorization for all transactions over $10,000. Mandatory credential rotation every 60 days. Random audit checks on high-level accounts. These should have existed before, I told the board. We're making sure they exist now. The company recovered. Trust rebuilt slowly, through transparency and accountability. We published the audit findings internally, held town halls about what went wrong and how we'd prevent it from happening again. Employees appreciated the honesty. One afternoon, a junior accountant knocked on my office door. "Can I ask you something?" she said nervously. "Of course." "How did you stay calm when everyone thought you were guilty?" I thought about those terrible months. The fear, the isolation, the doubt. "I didn't stay calm," I said honestly. I was terrified. But I knew the truth, and I trusted it would come out eventually. "What if it hadn't?" she asked. "What if the audit hadn't found the evidence?" I leaned back. Then I would have kept looking. Hired lawyers, investigated privately, done whatever it took. Because the alternative was letting a lie define my life. She nodded slowly. "Thank you." I needed to hear that. After she left, I thought about Jennifer. About how talented she'd been, how respected. She could have had a legitimate career, earned everything honestly. Instead, she'd chosen shortcuts and manipulation. And she'd dragged me into it, tried to sacrifice my reputation to save herself. The anger had faded, but the lesson remained. Trust, once broken, was almost impossible to repair. A year after my reinstatement, the company held its annual awards ceremony. I was surprised to be called on stage. Mr. Harrison held a plaque. "This year's Integrity Award goes to someone who demonstrated extraordinary ethics under pressure," he announced. When faced with false accusations, she didn't lash out or compromise her principles. She trusted the truth and worked patiently to reveal it. He handed me the plaque. The auditorium erupted in applause. I looked at the engraving, for unwavering integrity in the face of adversity. That night, Marcus and I celebrated quietly at home. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Strange," I admitted. A year ago, I was suspended and humiliated. Now I'm being honored. "You earned it," he said. "Not by being vindictive or seeking revenge. By being exactly who you've always been." I thought about that. He was right. I hadn't changed who I was to fight back. I'd just refused to let someone else's dishonesty rewrite my story. My daughter came downstairs, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Why are you still up?" "Celebrating," I said, pulling her onto my lap. "Celebrating what?" "The truth," I said simply. She yawned. "Truth is important." "The most important thing," I agreed. After she went back to bed, I sat alone with my thoughts. Jennifer was in prison. My career had recovered and advanced. Justice had been served in the most public way possible. But what stayed with me wasn't the vindication. It was the lesson. Systems only work when people trust them. Jennifer had exploited that trust, assumed she could manipulate it indefinitely. But systems, when properly designed and honestly maintained, eventually exposed the truth. The audit hadn't been revenge. It had been accountability. I'd simply made sure accountability had the information it needed. The next morning, I received an email from David Reeves. Saw the news about your award. Well deserved. If you ever need consulting work on fraud prevention, I know someone perfect for the job. I smiled and wrote back, I might take you up on that. 2 years later, I did. We launched a company-wide fraud prevention program. David came in quarterly to train employees on recognizing red flags, protecting credentials, reporting suspicious activity. Most fraud is preventable, he told each training session. It requires awareness and courage. Awareness to see the signs, and courage to speak up. He'd glance at me when he said that. I became a speaker at industry conferences. Financial ethics in crisis was my most requested talk. I'd tell my story, not for sympathy, but as a case study. When someone accuses you falsely, I'd say, your first instinct is panic. That's normal. But panic clouds judgment. Instead, document everything. Trust the process, but verify it. And never, ever compromise your integrity to fight dishonesty. People would approach me afterward. I'm facing something similar, they'd confide. What should I do? I'd give them David's contact information, share resources, offer encouragement. The truth is powerful, I'd tell them. But it needs help sometimes. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Jennifer was released after serving 5 years. I heard through former colleagues that she moved across the country, changed her name, started over in a completely different field. I never contacted her. There was nothing left to say. Our lives had diverged at the moment she decided my career was acceptable collateral damage for her crimes. Some betrayals don't deserve reconciliation. They deserve distance. My daughter is 15 now. She knows the full story, understands what happened. Weren't you angry? She asked recently. Furious, I admitted. But anger wasn't useful. Preparation was. Last month, the company promoted me to Chief Financial Officer. Mrs. Chen retired, and the board voted unanimously for my appointment. You've rebuilt this department's integrity, Mr. Harrison said. You've earned this role. I thought about the conference room where Jennifer had pointed at me, where everyone had believed her lie. That room looked different now. New paint, new furniture, new energy. But the lesson remained. People will believe what seems convincing. Evidence can be manipulated. Systems can be exploited. The only real defense is living honestly, documenting carefully, and trusting that truth, given time and opportunity, reveals itself. I keep the Integrity Award on my desk. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. When employees come to me with concerns, ethical questions, or suspicions of wrongdoing, I listen. Really listen. Because I remember what it felt like to be dismissed. To be accused without investigation. To stand alone against a lie everyone believed. I'll never let that happen on my watch again. And that, more than any revenge, is what makes the ending sweet.